Start?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Prema Ramesha. 1 second, I'm sorry. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Prema Ramesha, VPA National Secretary. On behalf of VPA, I extend a warm welcome to our distinguished panelists, students, parents, educators, and our community members joining us today. Thank you for being part of this educational webinar, Academic Success, Career Readiness, and Professional Development. We hope today's webinar inspires you, answers your questions, and provides valuable insights to help you make informed decisions about our academic and career journey. To begin today's program, it is my honor to invite our VPA National President, Dr. Amarnath, to share few welcome remarks, provide an overview of today's webinar, and welcome our distinguished panelist. Dr. Amarnath, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you, Prema. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our education webinar. I'm Dr. Amarnath, President of National VPA, and it is my pleasure to welcome such a distinguished gathering of panelists, Dr. Sathees Chandra, Ms. Mel Horadam, and Ms. Aruna Davis, and dear parents and students. A special welcome to all students who made the effort to attend today's webinar. Your presence here reflects your enthusiasm to learn, to grow, and invest in your future. Education is the foundation of growth, and in a constantly evolving world, staying current is the key to success. This webinar provides an excellent opportunity to challenge yourselves, broaden your perspectives, and gain valuable insights. The objective of today's webinar is to provide students with practical guidance for academic success and career readiness. We want to help students understand what it takes to succeed academically, prepare for college, explore meaningful career opportunities, develop professional skills, and make informed decisions about their future. We also hope to equip parents with the valuable insights so they can better understand the support their children educational and career journeys. Career readiness is not something that starts after graduation. It begins much earlier. High school and college are the ideal times for students to discover their interests, build essential skills, seek leadership opportunities, volunteer, network with mentors, and gain real-world experiences. This webinar is not only about learning from experts, but also about networking, building meaningful connections, and exchanging ideas with fellow participants. Our esteemed panelists have been carefully selected to provide the most up-to-date and relevant information on today's topics. I'm confident that their presentations and interactions will inspire you and enrich you with valuable knowledge that you can apply in your careers. Before I conclude, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our organizing team for their hard work, dedication, and countless hours of efforts to making this webinar possible. Once again, thank you all for being here. I wish you a productive, informative, and enjoyable webinar. With that, I would like to hand over the microphone to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amarnath, for your inspiring welcoming and for setting the stage for today's webinar. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Nagaraj Nagathalli, VPA Joint Secretary, to introduce our distinguished panelist. Dr. Nagaraj.
Thank you, Prema. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's education webinar. As a cancer biology researcher and educator, I have trained the next generation of scientists and mentored students from high school through graduate and medical education. One lesson stands out above all others. Opportunities rarely come looking for us. Students who ask questions, seek mentors, show initiative, and remain passionate about learning are the ones who create opportunities for themselves. I hope today's conversation encourages each of our students to do exactly that. We are truly fortunate to have three outstanding experts who bring diverse experiences in higher education, college admissions, and student development. Together, they will provide valuable guidance for students and parents navigating the journey from high school to college and beyond. Our first distinguished panelist is Dr. Sathees Chandra, Dean of the College of Health Sciences at Samuel Merritt University in California. Dr. Chandra has dedicated more than 25 years in higher education as a scientist, educator, researcher, administrator, and mentor. Throughout his career, he has been committed to advancing academic excellence, developing innovative health sciences programs, and preparing the next generation of healthcare professionals. Before joining Samuel Merritt University, he held several leadership positions at Banner University, Florida, including Associate Dean of the College of Health and Wellness and Director of Biomedical Sciences. His experiences spans from biomedical sciences, graduate education, faculty leadership, research, and student mentoring. As an academic leader, Dr. Chandra has worked closely with students pursuing careers in medicine, nursing, physician assistant studies, and other health professionals. His perspective on academic preparation, leadership, research, and professional success will be incredibly valuable for students aspiring to careers in healthcare. Please join me giving a warm welcome to Dr. Sathees Chandra.
Thank you, Nakash.
Our next panelist is Ms. Mel Horadam, an independent educational consultant and college admissions expert based in the Albuquerque area. Ms. Mel brings a unique perspective to college admissions, having worked on both sides of this process. She began her career as an educator, later served as a university admissions counselor before becoming an independent college consultant. Today, she partners with students and families to navigate every step of the college admissions journey, from identifying colleges that are the best fit to developing a strong application strategy, crafting compelling personal essays, understanding financial aid, and making informed enrollment decisions. Through her personalized guidance, Mel has helped hundreds of students achieve their college goals. Her expertise in admissions, application strategy, and student mentoring makes her an invaluable resource for students and parents alike. We look forward to hearing her insights on building a competitive student profile and making thoughtful, confident decisions throughout the college application process. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Mel Horadam.
Thanks for having me.
Our third distinguished panelist is Mrs. Aruna Davis, founder and chief writing coach of Learn to Write Now. For nearly 2 decades, Mrs. Davis has been dedicated to helping students develop one of the most important skills for lifelong success, the ability to think critically, communicate effectively, and write with confidence. Recognizing that many capable students struggled not because they lacked ability, but because they had never been taught how to organize their ideas and express themselves clearly, she founded Learn to Write Now. Since then, she has guided more than 3,000 students in strengthening their writing, critical thinking, and communication skills, helping them gain admissions to highly competitive colleges and universities while preparing them for success well beyond the classroom. Mrs. Davis is widely respected for her expertise in English language arts, college admissions, and student development. Through her work as an educator, mentor, and entrepreneur, she has empowered students to discover their unique voice, build confidence, and become effective communicators and future leaders. Today, she will share valuable insights on the importance of strong writing skills, effective communication, and how students can distinguish themselves in an increasingly competitive academic environment. Please join me giving a warm welcome to Mrs. Aruna Davis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are honored to have such an accomplished panel representing higher education leadership, college admission expertise, and student communication and writing development. I encourage all of our students and parents to listen carefully, take notes, and make the most important of this opportunity. Our panels have a wealth of experience and are here to help guide you through toward academic success and career readiness. With that, let's begin our discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nagaraj, for those thoughtful introduction. We also appreciate you sharing your experience in the field of research. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Tulsi, who will moderate today's panel discussion. Tulsi, we look forward to an engaging and insightful discussion. The session is all yours. Tulsi?
Thank you, Prema. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tulsi Vijendranathan. I am a member of the VPA community. I have a vested interest in this webinar as well because I have two boys, one already in college and my younger son who is heading out to college this year. Having said that, let's begin with a quick icebreaker just to start off our discussion. I'll start off with you, Dr. Chandra. Dr. Chandra, you worked closely with students who are preparing for health professions with higher education. What is the most important lesson you have learned from working with students over these years?
Thank you, Tulsi. I don't know whether you're meant to be off the camera, but you're not on the camera.
You are.
She's there.
I'm
Okay,
there, yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, video is not coming in, so for some reason,
Yeah,
but I
no
can't
problem.
understand. So thanks, Tulsi. That's a great question. I've worked significantly with last 25 years with a variety of students. So I've spent going from undergraduate education, admission process, all the way to graduate and doctoral degree. And healthcare is very unique in that sense. It requires a lot of planning before you want to do whether you become a physician, a dentist, PA, or anything you choose. It has to be more precise. That's one of the reasons people struggle. And what I understood in my experience, students, when they go to undergraduate school, they always have an advisor in the institution. Most of them they go a little late to the advisor to get the advice. And they go after 1 or 2 years, they're already kind of off the hook in the sense they're not on the target. And either they don't listen to the advisor, or they misread the advisor, or they just forget about it. They do the things. They realize by the end of when they get closer to the 4th year, oh, I can't do that. It's going to cost me a year or two to get next phase. That is one of the things which I learned. If you are entering the healthcare, doesn't matter what field, what healthcare you are, whether it's a physician, dentist, podiatrist, nursing, OT, PT, occupational therapy, each and every one of them have a specific requirement that you need to know well in advance before you enter into the 3rd year of undergrad. So I'm going to stop here. We'll come back. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chandra. We'll move on to you, Ms. Horadam. You guided many students through important educational decisions in your career. What is one common trait you observed among students who successfully navigate college and career decisions?
Oh, it's a good question. Okay. I would say sometimes students are very focused on the right now because they're teenagers and everything feels very we'll just say prescient, right now. But keeping an eye towards sustainable happiness, right? Like looking towards the college list that's a good fit for that student, not who that student or their parents think they should be, or looking towards careers that student is likely to succeed in because they are likely to enjoy it and thrive in it, instead of trying to mold like a 17-year-old into a whole new person by that point. That's something that I often see in the process with the students who are most successful, or the ones who are really following the pathway that they're already on as a person.
Thank you, Ms. Horadam. Ms. Davis, we all know, especially through the college application process, communication and writing are critical life skills. What is one communication or writing skill that students often underestimate, but that can make a huge difference in their future success?
We always talk about the 4 C's when we say about the skills that they need to have, which is communication, creativity, curiosity, and critical thinking. But the one particular skill or 1 C that they forget that they want to really portray is character, the strength of their character, the integrity. And especially in this day and age of AI, we constantly go back to the student and tell them, try not to use AI, right? Because your story is yours to tell. And you can only tell your unique story, your growth story. So if they have that strength of character, which seems to be an underestimated one, but it is the one that through the lens through which that we admissions officer look at them, or readers or coaches, we look at them, then if they hold on to that and if they keep that at the center of everything that they do, I think they can come off the other end successfully.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Davis. We have a whole section on AI and how to go about using AI in our discussion today. So definitely we'll elaborate more on that. And with that icebreaker, let's go ahead with those focus areas which you see on your screen. We'll start off with academic success strategies, right? With key focuses on time management, consistency versus cramming, growth mindset, seeking help early, and learning how to learn. So having said that, right, again, this question is not particularly directed to everyone. If all of you please feel to pitch in and give your your 2 cents on the question. So if students could implement just one academic improvement, what would you recommend? I mean, yeah, please go ahead.
If I may start off, if it's okay. I keep telling my students consistency over intensity, and then all this means is that even whatever that they take, whether it's a rigorous course or an ordinary course or whatever club that they are part of, if they show up consistently to practice, if they show up consistently through their work to the class, or even going and seeking the advisor's help, that is better than going to the last into the last minute, which is the intensity. That you need intensity when you need it, but not trying to cram everything into one night's work. So consistency over intensity is something, if they can keep it as their watchword, that would help them throughout academic, and I would also say even career excellence.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Ms. Horadam, Dr. Chandra, do you have anything to add to this?
Mel, are you going ahead? So, yeah,
No, you go for it. Go for it.
My care, okay, so every answer I give is related to healthcare. Just keep in mind. So I'm keeping in healthcare as in my background, right? So in healthcare, resiliency is the most important. A reason is very simple. You're going to expect yourself to fail 1 or 2 times before you get into the physician or dental or PA program, right? By default. So, and any of the exams that are associated with the MCAT or a DAT or a PA CAT, all those, first time, chances are you're not going to do well. But there are like 10% students, they will do excellent. But I'm talking about the majority, they will not do well. So your resiliency, not getting upset, not, oh my God, I'm not cut out for this, becoming a physician. And again, those are anything healthcare, which is a delayed gratification. Healthcare, medical takes anywhere between 10 to 15 years, depending on whether you want to be a family practitioner or you want to be a neurosurgeon. 15 years, you're going to make a regular salary. After that, everything pays off big. So you have to have a resilience for all this. That's what I'm going to stop right now. Mel, please go ahead.
I mean, I like everything that y'all have talked about. I think consistency, resiliency, these are all things that are at the top of my list, like the executive functioning skills, the soft skills. So I'll just throw a curveball in there. I'm going to say reading. Learn to read. I think so many of our students have never, and this, I may or may not be calling out some of you students here, but like you've never been like bored before, like had to make your own fun, be creative. I think reading filled that hole for a lot of like old people back in the day. But it's more than just entertainment. It's like learning how to think, learning how to communicate, navigating words. Like I have so many students I work with who are excellent students, straight A's, great SAT scores, and their literacy rate is not where it should be. And it impacts every single part of this process for them, because if they can't read, then they may not understand the applications or the emails or their syllabus or anything in this process.
Thank you. Those are all great points, and I'm sure the students who are listening over here are taking notes of these.
And
Okay.
if I can just piggyback
Sure,
on what
sure.
Mel said,
Mhm.
we tell it to our second graders starting up, because that's when they get into the idea of reading and reading for pleasure and reading for meaning. So we always say to keep it as a mnemonic: today a reader, tomorrow a leader. So keep that in mind and then keep going. Thank you, Mel, for that.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Davis. Okay, so next, let me jump deep into what all our students are facing. Students today are they feel overwhelmed balancing their coursework, the extracurricular activities, and personal commitments. They're all trying to be like have all the superpower, gain all the superpower traits, for ideal college application. How do you think they can manage their time more effectively? Dr. Chandra, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So I use the same principle wherever you go. So too much of anything is too bad. That's basically what it is by the bottom line, right? So whether you want too much of sugar, or too much of exercise, too much of enjoyment, everything is bad. So strict yourself. Yeah, discipline is a key for this. I mean, again, so it's very hard to discipline and the drive, which makes it very hard in the society we live in the US. That's simply because of what they have everything at their finger point, basically, right? So they can get everything. So, but the discipline comes from, I always argue, from the family and the environment. Family, you only have like few hours, like 4 hours per day, but they spend 8 hours in the school. So that's going to be an issue altogether. So when I say something which is important, it has to be built in over the period of time. So, something which I kind of always teach them. So how do you balance? There are a couple of ways. If some students are very meticulous, that's only the top 5, top 10%. They know what they want. That makes things easier. So if you're in medical, do this thing, right? If you're an engineer, do these things. If you want to be something else, do this thing. But most people do not belong to that category by default. I mean, that's one of the reasons all Ivy Leagues, they don't even care which major you choose, because they know that concept. You go there and you can change your major at any point, right? So that's the logic behind it. So I always say, in addition to whatever we're doing, the kid is a kid by default. People who learn the best are the most one they're happiest in doing whatever they do. You got to teach them those values rather than sit there and do the 10-hour maths or 5-hour maths and those things. That concept will backfire more often than basically you see in the nature. So I teach them the values like this. You have a discipline is a value. You have an ability to just understand what is important for you to be happy while you're learning. Just not happy is not good. You got to learn to succeed, right? The third part is making them learn that over the period of time. Disciplines cannot be taught in 1 minute or 1 day or 1 year. It is the concept of the long-term potential. So that's something is very important. So if you can integrate and make them integrate, they will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Horadam, Ms. Davis, anything do you want to add on to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think time management is a learned skill. I was a teenager who procrastinated and wasn't very organized. I have ADHD, and when I was a teenager, I was kind of like a train wreck in some ways, but I was still successful because I think a lot of our smart students who are disorganized can like pull things off at the last minute. This is like functional for a lot of high schoolers because of the way our high schools are especially structured, where there's a lot of leniency now with turning in things late post-COVID, and just like being able, there's so much busy work and accountability from everyone else around you that you could kind of skirt by while being kind of like super bad at managing your time. Not cute in college, not cute as an adult. So like for students, I find this is a really good process, the college application process, to practice time management, setting early deadlines. For me personally, I like live by my Google Calendar, and I will put things in there that are like maybe embarrassing to admit, but sometimes it's like, okay, I have to work on this thing that's due a month from now. So I have time to do this, and then this is what I'm going to schedule, like relaxing. Maybe I'm a little type A, but it's for me, like that is how I am able to be a functional like adult. And learning how to be a functional adult is part of growing up. So just practicing time management, like if a student comes to me and they're just kind of a mess, it's like, okay, how do you keep track of your calendar? Oh, mommy tells you when to do it. Is mommy going to college with you? Is mommy going to med school with you? Like probably not, hopefully not. So practicing now is good.
Yeah, I think that's where most of us that's a big area of improvement for most of us. And that's where even I struggle as a mom with my kids. Thank you, Ms. Horadam. Ms. Davis, do you have anything?
Yeah. Again, to piggyback on both healthcare and time management to first, and then I will add my point too. I always tell the students, you have 24 hours, everybody has 24 hours, but let's start with sleep, which contributes directly to mental health. So whatever is the non-negotiable part of, for some it's 6, for some it's 7, my daughter would say 8. Absolutely, so start with that and then let's work our way. So what is the available time? Then there is the school time, right? So that is taken off. So this is a specific question to, okay, how many activities can I cram, or what can I do within that other set of hours that I have available, right? So that is there. Now I also tell the students who we start working with, when they come and ask, what kind of activity should I do, Mrs. Davis? I'm going in this field or I'm going in that field, for example. We always try to bring this Asian concept of ikigai, if you've heard of it. That's a great book too. Ikigai, ikigai. I can put it in my show notes later. Basically, this is like they construct this with what they call as the 4 pillars. Take what you love, and that is one pillar. The other one, what you're good at, another pillar. And the third pillar, what the world needs, a third pillar. And finally, where the world recognizes you, or for which you will get paid. So if you do your activities, like first to begin with, what you love, you're passionate about, to Dr. Chandra's, if you love that, you don't need anybody, or even Mel saying that you don't need your parent telling you. You're already scheduled in your head. You're excited. You're passionate. You will find the time to do that. Nobody needs to tell, right? So that's good. And then it may not be the one that you love, but you might be good at something, right? And then you can really hone that craft and you can become excellent at that. So that's another possible bucket there. And then the third one is, there is something that the world needs that only you can give, right? If you're able to identify, not everybody is able to, but if you can identify that, and or even be an entrepreneur and find that by being a founding member of a certain club or whatever that is, go for it and do that. And in all this, at that time, maybe you may have a job that gives you paid. So that's possibly an activity. Some kids would come and actually tell us, oh, I just have like a babysitting job. So why do you say that you just have a babysitting job? It's a great thing. You are really providing help for that mom who has not slept for days on end, right? That's phenomenal. So please take everything with that, with that sense that I have done something, contributed to the community. So as long as they can think of their activities from this lens and perspective, I think they will be in a good place.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Davis. Definitely will take note of Ikigai, and I think instead of heavily focusing on one area, on what you need to, make your, what do you think, only from a financial or a future prospect, all of these 4 areas are definitely areas which we should all look into. Okay, let's move on to, like, I know strong grades are important, but success in college requires much more than academic performance. Now, let's talk about some personal qualities that help students thrive, right? So, what are some common mistakes students make during the transition from high school to college, right? So, again, this is an open question to any one of you. Based on your observations, what do you think are the common mistakes?
Okay, so let me just go ahead with that one. So common mistake, which I see again, the same. So a lot of students, I mean, not everybody. Again, when I say a lot of students, majority, 60 to 70, 80%, I see them, they drastically overestimate their ability transition from high school to college. I mean, that's one of the reasons they struggle mightily to get into the health care, because once they drop a GPA in the first year before they get settled, it is very hard to catch up in the next 2 years by default, because they've taken 12 different classes with 36, 40 credit hours. If you understand maths, that GPA will not go up, even if you're doing well in the last 1 year or 1.5 years, right? So that is one. The second one is basically people are thinking, I'm taking lots of AP classes, I should be exempt from this in college. AP classes in high school are not same as the college. Again, now, in additional problem with that one is healthcare. That is precisely the reason we do not transfer any of the AP classes, because every medical, dental, different field require them to take either MCAT or a DAT, PCAT or something. If they do not have the basic knowledge, the fundamental knowledge, sound knowledge in high school, they're not going to do well in those exams by default. That's one of the reasons they don't, if you're a pre-med, pre-dental, they don't even transfer any of those credits from AP. So you don't have to bombard yourself with APs unless you're able to get and digest the material and absorb more in the next one. So these are a couple of, basically the mistakes happens. So I'm going to let the others speak. I'm sure they'll pick up something else with other things. Thanks again.
Yeah, I can go next. I think for a mistake, so people have intrinsic and extrinsic goals, right? And I always talk with my families, especially the students, like, what are your goals in this? Like, what do you want from college? Like, what is the goal 4 years, 5 years, and beyond? And when a student tells me only extrinsic goals, and these are things like make a lot of money, go to prestigious college, get a prestigious job, we can work with that, but that means that the student really needs to reflect inwardly a bit more. Because I think a problem, especially with students who are very focused on like very selective, some of those most highly selective colleges in the country, that the hyper focus is, okay, I just need to get in and then I'm good. Like if I just get into XYZ college that has this big name that's going to impress my parents and their friends and my friends at school, and everyone's in each other's business, and I just want to get into this college so I have that name of that college by my name. You get to college and then what? Right? And so I think a lot of the then what can be a mistake for some students, because they may get into that college and there's nothing else driving them. Okay, well, maybe the next thing is get into a selective med school or get into a good internship or get a good job. Then what? Like human beings are complex and we really need internal goals, like values that drive us. Like a great doctor, for example, usually has intrinsic goals that are important to them that are going to keep them going when they're doing these crazy long shifts in residency or have a really hard day, right? They're going to have intrinsic values that are going to be more powerful than just having, like a medical doctorate. And same thing with any job or any field. Like we are people who need to be powered by our intrinsic values, or else it just gets empty, because there's always that then what for those people.
Yeah. Thank you, Horadam. Ms. Davis, do you have anything?
I will echo some of what Mel shared, like choosing prestige over fit. That's a big mistake that we constantly see again and again. So that the fit is a very important, aspect that the students have to remember moving from high school into college everywhere. So that's that. If they remember that, that's a great thing. And then, of course, they have to learn their basic life skills. A lot of the students, they go from high school, again, they are in the cocoon of their parents' home, and they don't feel prepared when they are just put there in college, having to take care of almost everything on their own, and again, they are overdrawn there. They try to overcommit in the first semester or the first year, knowing that they don't have the other extra help to, and only to see by the end of the first year everything is suffering, right? So compounded with, they do not attend school, they did not go to office hours, and it is like cumulative, all these things keep adding. So if they can remember that, first, again, prestige overfit as a problem, should never be there, to build their basic life skills, to make sure that they are using every resource that the college gives to them, whether it's a tutor or an office hour, make use of that, all of that. And then I would also say, don't go to college thinking that you're going to go there to build a resume, but think of it as a place where you're building a relationship. That should always be the case. That I also see in this, again, day and age where the kids are to themselves and their devices, the relationship building, because if we go back in the time, we are still going back to our 30th year college reunion. I'm really hoping that the kids will have that possibility, but if they really go out there to build that relationship, that they can have that sense of community.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. I did have other question regarding what qualities beyond GPA and test scores do you think that help students succeed once they get to college? You all have already touched upon them, talking about resiliency, consistency, time management, focusing on what you're passionate about, and other things, right? So is there anything else that you want to add about what qualities do you think that helps student succeed once they get to college?
That adaptability, like teenagers can think that they know exactly what they want to do. And sometimes they do, but sometimes life doesn't necessarily agree, right? Like, especially with technology and how much things are changing. I know we're going to talk about AI shortly, but like I never thought when I was 17 I would do this. Like, I didn't know this was a job, right? Like, a lot of what can dictate success for students is saying yes to opportunities and building a lot of skills that can cross disciplines. So going back to what Mrs. Davis was saying, where it's like having these soft skills, these interpersonal skills, these executive functioning skills that you can bring to any field. And Dr. Chandra, I'm sure there's so many students that I'll work with students and they're like, I'm going to be a doctor pre-med. And I'm like, well, organic chemistry may or may not agree with you, like whether or not that's actually happening. And you still have to be a successful person after that, whether or not you stay on that pathway. So being open to different opportunities, being open to what life may put in your pathway. If your friend's dad has some business and it's not exactly what you want to do, but they're offering you a great internship for the summer, maybe try it out. You don't know. That's how a lot of people's lives move, is just saying yes to opportunities and being adaptable.
Yeah. Thank you, Mal. I think that this continuation, adaptability is absolutely essential for them to understand. Very simple topic, like, for example, I get this complaint as the dean. Oh, the professor is not doing, he's asking this, and he asked something else in the exam, and so on and so forth. And the flexibility and I try to explain the evolution component to this. Everybody has to evolve, and how fast you evolve, that dictates how successful you are going to be over the period of 4 years, basically, right? You're going to come across faculty, you're going to come across teaching, which you don't like, something you're missing, you're not used to, you have to adapt there to understand what that professor wants at that time, the teaching style, research, education. Those are the things you have to pick it up. It's instead of coming back and talking about that professor did not do what that is. I mean, that complaints, I hardly, again, there are some valid complaints sometimes, but most cases, this is just the invalid way of looking at things from their perspective. I try to teach them, you got to evolve. You got to understand that particular thing. If you make that small evolution, it's called a micro evolution, you will get better, and you'll do that success coming up next semester, not next year, right? So those are the things. And again, I always tell them, you want to be just not a doctor, you want to be a great doctor. What are those great doctors? That's the qualities Mel was talking about. What is a great doctor in your terms? Is a great compassion, ethical decision making, right? And a clinical judgment. And you need to have a meaningful relationship you can build with the patients. It is, it doesn't matter which school you go to, what top school you go to. If you don't have these qualities built in and learn it, you're not going to be a great doctor. So those are the things which I always kind of tell them. Adaptability, next level is microevolution, is key for them to be successful in the college. Basically, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Yeah, so I know ultimately education is a path to meaningful opportunities. Now let's explore how students can discover and prepare for careers that align with their strengths and interests. What experiences should a high school student or college student pursue now to become more competitive for internships and future employment? Yeah, I mean, this is just open to all of you. Please feel free to, give your, insights into it.
I can start. So a lot of times students will come to me and be like, I'm not going to get into college because I don't have volunteer experience, or like, I haven't had a job yet, or I'm not a leader. Not every student can do everything. I don't think having this sort of imaginary checklist is very helpful for students. What I want to see from my students, and what usually is an indicator of success, is are you busy? Right. And not in such a way that you're falling apart, right? A candle burning at both ends is not going to burn for very long. But when students are doing things they're genuinely interested in, like let's say a family comes to be 9th, 10th grade of high school, and they're getting involved in activities, it's like if the parent is forcing the student into an activity that the student genuinely does not want to do, the student is not going to sustain that activity. Like they may go every once in a while, but they're not going to become a leader. They're not going to innovate that activity. They're not going to build on it at their school. They're not going to contribute to their community in a way that feels meaningful to them. So if a student really likes martial arts, let them do a ton of martial arts and be a leader in that in their community. If a student loves babysitting, right? Like that's important. They can learn a lot of skills that way. Maybe they take a CPR class so they can, be a functional babysitter. Maybe they partner with a middle school in the area because they love working with kids. Like these things can build on each other. But my advice for how students can build like activities outside of just, grades and SAT scores is finding something that they genuinely like doing, and they will make time for that. And that's sometimes hard to hear because, not everybody likes playing piano or likes, working at the parents' law firm or like volunteering at the old folks' home. Like maybe they just don't like that. Find something else. Like there are so many things that students can do to get involved that they may actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Horadam. It's got a lot, especially I see that in most of the communities, predominantly OA with lots to do with the Asian community. It's more to do with that herd mentality. Everyone wants to do everything because that's what they heard the immediate friends talk about. So I think that's some good advice. Ms. Davis, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm going to speak about skills that everybody has to prepare, not specifically in a certain line of work or a line of study, but we are going back to the same 5 C's as I was calling in terms of a mnemonic. One, the first thing, curiosity. Be curious constantly. Ask better questions, because curiosity is the one that's going to keep, driving you into deeper learning. Very, very important, right? It's not for those. At least we know that in the current stage that we are in, or in the future stage that we are going to go into, it's not those who can memorize facts, but those who are able to ask better questions, or even anticipate the kinds of questions that don't exist and are able to prepare themselves for that. So that's one thing. Be curious, stay curious always. The communication, of course, communication. various kinds of communication. You can write well, you can speak well, you can listen well, because listening is becoming a lost art. So listen well, and then you can also persuade thoughtfully. You have a certain kind of point of view and be able to communicate that thoughtfully. That's there. Those are all communication. Now it comes to the next one, critical thinking. How can you evaluate the information? How can you compare the viewpoints that are there? How can you challenge even if you're going to use any chatbot, how can you challenge the assumptions, whether it's from a person or from a chatbot, right? So how can you do that? Build that skill there. Of course, creativity, we don't even have to say. Humans are highly creative. Keep that creativity going. That's phenomenal. And lastly, of course, the most important thing, according to me, is character. That integrity, that kindness, that reliability that you have, that other people have about yourself. All these are phenomenal skills that you keep building, not just while you are in high school, not just while you're in college, eventually into your career and then life, is what I would say.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. I know we have many students over here, perhaps who want career in healthcare, and let's quickly go ahead with conversations regarding that. Again, predominantly directed towards Dr. Chandra, but again, because he comes with that professional subject matter expertise. But Ms. Davis and Horadam, please, feel free to talk about that. The one question, Mr. Chandra, is regarding high school students' choice. Once they graduate, the choice of major in the college applications. Many students believe that if they have to attend medical school, they have to choose the major in biology. Is that true? Or can students pursue other majors while still being strong medical school candidates?
It's a very good question, but that's what 70-80% of the students by default choose it. Unfortunately, that's a terrible decision as far as I'm concerned. So because the biology major is one of the tough majors, and generally people end up choosing the biochemistry or chemistry, the development of biology, all those are very, very tough major, right? So you're not going to be able to maintain a GPA closer to 4.0. That is one of the things. Again, there are a couple of things. Again, I always recommend people at least have guided over 2,000 students in the last 16 or 17 years. This is the data based on 2,000 students, and I've put them at least 1,300 students into various medical dental school, which is a large enough data for me to make this kind of conclusions on that. The majors who have been successful, again, biology is always a major, which any institution you go in, by default, go into biology. But if you want to maximize your efficiency, go into a little bit lower, a little bit easier in the sense, for example, makes more sense, public health, social sciences, English major, medical school, they don't care what major you are in. The person who is most successful in my history of like 16, 17 years, the guy came up with the piano major in undergrad. She's the only one, she got into 7 medical school, all top medical schools. That again, so you would have never thought piano major. That's exactly how the medical school and dental school and PA programs look into. And there's a science behind it, because when you are playing any of these instruments, basically it's supposed to stimulate maximum amount of neurons in your brain, so they can pick up any field you teach without any difficulty. That's exactly true what happened in that case. She had no clue. I mean, probably she took one biology class and she entered into masters in the biomedical sciences when I was there in Chicago. I was like shocked too. Like, how are you going to learn this material? Well, she said, no, I can learn it. And she aced it. She got a 4.0 GPA at that time. She got into biomedical. So again, the short answer to this question is not necessary. Public health, sociology, women's studies, and any by default, you're required to take 8 classes in medical school: biology 1 and 2, chemistry 1 and 2, organic chemistry 1 and 2, physics 1 and 2. In addition, you need a couple more classes for yourself, make comfortable. There's an exam called MCAT to be eligible. So everything else, basically, what does it do is it makes your things easier in the class, in the undergrad. So you don't have to spend so much energy, so much effort to get an A grade over there. So you can spend time in the other things, then volunteerism and going to work in the hospital. And it gives you more confidence, because getting an A grade a lot easier than you would get an A grade in biochemistry or chemistry. Right? By default, that's tough subject. Whether you're smart or not smart, you're going to work hard to get there. Otherwise, you will not get an A grade by default. So that will be public health, and those kind of gives you addition. If you feel comfortable, you can take 1 or 2 classes additionally. if you're physiology and anatomy, for example, you're weaker, you can take one additional class. It doesn't have to be a major. Major by definition, you're required to take like 30 to 45 credits in that class. Even if you like or don't like, but statistics 1 and 2, you have to take it. Calculus-based physics, you must take it as a biology major. It is not required in that particular thing. So those are some of the variations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. I think that information most of us are going to benefit from. So I think that's a common mistake most of the pre-med aspiring students are doing.
Unfortunately, yeah.
They do, yeah. And one more thing is, like, many students believe that they must follow or shadow a perfect path to become a physician or a health profession, right? And they start shadowing like as many physicians of different record subject matter areas and also. How accurate is that perception?
This shadowing comes into picture. This is the last part of the application process. Okay, so what happens when you apply to the medical school? I'm going to just walk you through a couple of minutes to understand where shadowing comes in. Everything what medical dental school do, they have a theory behind. There's a data behind. There's just science behind how they process this application. I mean, so you got to understand the process. They go by the most important thing they look at is GPA, number 1. Number 2 is always MCAT DAT, because they believe that there is a big linkage between the same thing they also established, which I looked at the data, which is true. ACT and SAT is directly linked with how well the student does in MCAT. And I just did this repeatedly many times. If you tell me the first thing I ask you, they keep saying, oh, I'm very good at this, taking the MCAT. I'm going to do this. I'm going to score, ace the exam. First, tell me your ACT and SAT. So this is your maximum limit. I tell them, sometimes they don't like it. This is your maximum limit you might score, so on and so forth, right? So this is something which you need to understand when you are making a decision, right? So the shadowing is just a component of this. The third thing, basically, the first is GPA. They always go by MD school. For example, we have 2 different programs in the medical, master and dental. So the MD, that's the one which everybody, Doctor of Medicine, which you're all aware of. The second part called DO, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. So that is something which requires, they do not do any research at all in any of these institutions. There are like 150 MD schools. There are 55 DO schools. Now, first of all, you got to ask yourself, where are you applying, first of all? If you're applying to MD school, they are data-driven. They want GPA, they want MCAT score, they want shadowing, they want research. If you're applying for DO school, they're a comprehensive evaluation. They don't look at the GPA and the MCAT by itself or themselves. They want to see what else have you done. Have you worked in 3 jobs before you come to this one? So, and the requirement that was created also different. MD is meant for research, and basically that's a traditional way of becoming a doctor. DO is meant for creating doctors who are willing to work in the rural area in the United States, basically. So if you see the DO school, most of them are located in the rural area and middle of nowhere, Harrogate, Tennessee, and somewhere. Very few of them are in the big cities. The idea is that you'll fall in love with working in those places. Some of those doctors will stay there. But shadowing, how does it help? I mean, it certainly helps you. The idea of shadowing is to see whether you like enough to enjoy the job as being a doctor, right? But that comes into picture only when you make it the interview stage, in fact. They ask you questions. Until then, well, they have this set of things. These are a tick mark, right? You have to just put GPA is good, MCAT is good, you have some research experience, some teaching, and you've been thinking about healthcare for a while. That's where the shadowing comes in, which is going to, again, it's important. It is not a deciding factor.
Got it. Thank you, Dr. Chandra. So just to piggyback on that, then what advice would you give to a student who's really passionate and who's is on the pre-med path, but he's struggling academically, right? What advice do you give them?
That's the number one piece. That's the program which I created especially for these kind of students. When I came to Miami, so when I realized a lot of, there's a big, this is how the whole dynamics works. So when in 2014, we used to take only 26,000 students. That's the total number of capacity of the medical student that would take every year in the US. Now think about in Bangalore, we take like 1.4 lakhs doctors are produced every year. This is 26,000. Now going backward to the next 12 years, 2026, now the capacity is 34,500. It has increased. It's not increased significantly. And lots of the increase came in the DO side, not with the MD side. MD used to be 21,000, now it is 24,000. And DO used to be 6,700. Now it is 11,300. So what is DO difference between DO and MD? The DO generally means 80 to 90% of the students will go into, the idea is primary care physicians. Primary care physicians are the family practitioner, internal medicine, pediatrics, and OBGYN. If you're looking for the specialties, it's not that you cannot go from becoming a DO to a dermatology or neurosurgeon. Your chances are low. So if you want to be in that one, you got to get into MD. MD is a data-driven process. If you don't have this academically high GPA, high MCAT, your chances are limited. Now, don't complain that because I have a lot of, again, I used to get a lot of students in Chicago also. I used to run this program. Miami also ran this program. I'm using the same program in Samuel Merritt University in Chicago and California. California gets the highest number of applications out of all the states in the United States. There are 8,000 out of 50,000 applications come directly from California, simply because there's too many Indians population there. It's nothing else. So now that's basically number. It becomes a number game also all along. So what do I tell them? That's where I created this program called Masters in Biomedical Sciences, precisely for the students who fall into that category. What happens the first 1 or 2 years, you don't do very well in the college, your GPA drops. It doesn't mean you're not smart. You're smart, but you're not paying attention to what is more important. Now you try to pick it up in the 3rd and 4th year. However well you do, your GPA will not move past 3.1, 3.2. In the eyes of medical dental school, it's just nothing. They don't even look at your application. But MD schools, they don't even pay attention, basically. They just reject you on the next day when you apply. So now I created that in Barry when I was there for a specialized master program. So I brought them to basically specifically meant for people with the GPA between 2.8 to 3.1, 3.2. They're good, but they're not good enough in the eyes of medical dental school. So if you come back and show me that's what you saw in undergrad is not me, what I get in graduate school is me. That means if you score 3.5 or higher, if you score 502 or higher, then I have a guaranteed interview with the medical dental school. So that's where that program worked beautifully. So I put made close to 1,300 doctors and dentists from that program out of 2,000. Again, now 35% never made it to that scale because of either they could not maintain the GPA in grad school, or they had some other problem, or they could not do well in the DAT or MCAT. So these are the things. There are variation exist. There is a 400 program in the country right now. When I was in 2014, I was of 94th or 95th person to launch that program. Right now, there are 400 programs, but not all of them are created equally. So that's something you have to do the research, figure out which program works best for you, and what is the probability that you will have a higher probability of getting into medical dental school. So you got to work and talk to them, figure out where is that statistic for that school, where they have put the students into, what is that they did do, did they give you any training in the MCAT, DAT, or they just taught you the class, so on and so forth.
Got it. Thank you, Dr. Chandra. I think that is very good information, especially for kids who are studying, who are struggling academically, and who don't know, who are on the pre-med track, but they know that the GPA is not high, and they don't know what to do next, right? So I think knowing that there's a possibility of an option, something like what you have in Masters in Biomedical Sciences, I think gives them some ray of hope. So thank you for sharing that information. So in this field, in case of healthcare or pre-med, Ms. Horadam, Ms. Davis, do you have anything to add regarding college applications or med school from your experiences?
Yeah, I wanted to
I
jump.
can add after Ms.
Go
Mel
ahead.
because she had her hand up. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I just wanted to jump in going back to the piece about shadowing. So not for the college side, but for high schoolers who feel like they want to go into pre-health. Like I work with students who are interested in all sorts of pre-health, pre-med, pre-vet, pre-dental, PA, nursing, pharmacy, whatever, right? Like a lot of times they're figuring it out. I do recommend that they try to shadow at least a bit for certain just like things that they may not think about. Like, can you handle yucky stuff, right? Like, can you handle high stress environments? Like for me, like I was never both of my parents are in medicine. My dad's a physician, my mom's a pharmacist. When they brought in a cow heart to the school when I was in middle school, I ran out of the room crying. I was not gonna end up in that kind of career, right? Like it is important for students to see these things, and that's usually what shadowing is for high school students, is just seeing it. oftentimes the most that we can hope for with our high school students is maybe they can become a long-term volunteer at like a clinic or something where they're helping check people in and talk to people, but it's still not the same as actually being in the room, seeing stuff happen. So something that I do recommend, even for my pre-health students who want to be doctors on people, is I recommend that students try to work with like a veterinary clinic or an animal shelter, somewhere where they can actually do stuff. It doesn't work for every student, but my students who come to me who work at like a veterinary clinic, like there's not like HIPAA protecting Muffy, right? Like the students can actually like under supervision, like pull like a syringe of saline or like help clean up nasty stuff. Like they get in it more than a pre-med student in college could, or like someone who's older. So like I love shadowing. Like I had a student last year who came to me saying, oh, I think I'm going to do pre-pharmacy because I like chemistry. But everything I knew about that student is that she didn't like high stress situations. So I was like, oh, maybe you should like shadow the pharmacist for a while. And then she didn't want to be a pharmacist anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Seeing what it actually entails, because I think a lot of students are like, well, I'm good at biology and I can like memorize things. And I think like a lot of doctors that that's just part of it. It's not all of it. It's
Right.
dealing with a lot of other things.
Right. Yeah. Agree. Thank you, Ms. Horadam. Yeah. Ms. Davis, please go ahead.
What I wanted to, these are great points, and I've kind of gathered all this to actually make a cheat sheet for our students. But we already have a sort of a cheat sheet for students who come telling us, or parents, oh, we would like for our child, or how that conversation goes. But the student themselves saying, I would like to become a doctor someday, but in my undergrad, I don't want to do biology. Can I do something else? So we actually have put together over the course of the years of experience we've had. So if it's okay for brevity of time, I will just read out the cheat sheets in a whatever way, and we'll see. You can tell me stop, your time's up, and then I will stop. Okay, so I'm going with the coolest one on the list. Being a theater major, right? It builds confidence and communication, right? Breaking bad news to a family requires empathy, presence, and communication skills many actors develop naturally. So as a doctor, you will be great at it, right? So remember that. Next, art or art studio. That's one of observation skills. Some medical schools have students study paintings in museums because it trains them to notice tiny visual details they will later use while examining patients. So that's another great one. Of course, we have mathematics, right? A lot of them math or applied math, quantitative reasoning. Epidemiologists often joke that math saved more lives than medicine because statistics helped us discover what treatments actually work. Another great one. Nutrition, which is preventative medicine. As one physician famously said, the best prescription pad may sometimes be your grocery list, which is the truth. I hope if every doctor remembers that and prescribes, consultation that way, fantastic. Then I'll go two more, and then, like I said, you can tell me stop. Economics, of course, doctors are going to be working in hospitals. Hospitals are billion-dollar organizations. Understanding economics can make someone a better physician leader, or a hospital CEO, eventually. So that's a possibility too. Another one, computer science is a very popular one too, especially within the Asian community. So tomorrow's doctors may spend as much time working with AI as they do with stethoscopes. Some physicians now write code that helps detect cancer earlier than the human eye. Right? So, and we have a whole long list of various things. Again, I'm happy to make it available to your community if you want to share that cheat sheet with them. And but because over the years, some of the best essays that I have read, being an AO for a BSMD program, or even our students applying to the likes of, say, a Brown BSMD or Case Western B, all of these schools, some of the best essays have come from these students who have taken these non-traditional path to their undergrad or even high school majors, choices and things of that nature.
That would be great, Ms. Davis. And I don't think everyone, we all think in a very direct way when you're approaching, right? So you only want to do like shadowing or, tutoring or anything, but thinking on these alternate pathways is going to be great. So if you can make that material available, we can definitely share it with our audience. So yeah. Thank you. And let's move on to the big elephant in the room kind of thing, where regarding AI, no matter like which profession students choose today, technology and AI will shape the future workplace. We all want it or don't want it. That is the inevitable thing. Now let's examine how we can prepare our students for a future. Coming to college applications, right? So I think one of you did touch upon how AI is being used, or how to develop character. Miss Davis, you mentioned that, try to refrain from the use of AI. Try to be more use your reading and writing skills when you, instead of using AI as such. But having said that, right? So how should students use AI responsible as a learning tool rather than becoming dependent upon it? Yeah.
Should I start, or I would like to listen to Mel and Dr. Chandra share their points,
Yeah.
because it's a very passionate topic. I mean, I'm sure it's a
No,
passionate topic for every SA coach too. And then we have to play the part of a police sometimes and the writing coach the other times, and understand, there's a tool. If you don't use a tool, you're a fool, that kind of a thing. But I would still like to follow Mel and Dr. Chandra's lead on this.
I'll be happy. Sorry, I was just typing the answer to one of some of the questions are being asked. I don't know, Prema, are you following it, or I just typed some answers over in the back? So see whether I don't know whether it came to
We'll
you.
take up those questions in Q&A.
Shortly.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So AI is a pretty big issue, whether you like it or not, right? The same thing with the healthcare is even bigger issue. People are saying, what are some of the fields AI cannot replace? Well, people keep saying nurses. That's the one thing comes to everybody's mind, right? So for us, academically, that's a component which is different in the clinical part, which we say one of the things which we see predominant use is diagnosis in the AI. Basically, particularly anything reading, the images, right? So X-ray and radiation therapy and those kind of things, it looks like a bigger component. But still, it never. I have a even we have a couple of courses being taught by. Recently, I attended one of the class, and it's very funny that what they did was in that MHA, the Master of Health Administration class, and we got two instructors. They said the purpose of the entire program, we are going to evaluate all your essays using AI, no human intervention. Of course, students got completely paranoid first time. So like, whoa, what's going to happen? Yeah, but we're going to help the AI to evaluate that process in the beginning. And they showed us like 4 or 5 times when you submit an essay, AI does this. That means you, by default, decide how much AI you want to use. You want to use ChatGPT or you want Gemini, whatever that is. But that's going to identify. That's built into the Canvas platform. Canvas nowadays, what it does is two different things it gives us. One is a plagiarism check, the similarity percentage. It tells you how much of the material is not original. It tells you by default. Second part, it tells you how much of this ChatGPT and Gemini and the Claude that I've used in that system, which is fine, but you're giving you a message to use this AI. But only thing is, what I want to hear is your own voice, and you efficiently utilizing AI to make this workable. Then we're going to make the AI to evaluate you, which is kind of fascinating. People were so paranoid in the beginning. Over the period after they understand how to use AI efficiently, but that basically means AI can just use the material. What does AI do? It takes the material wherever it's available, whichever source, and it's going to by default gets it to you. But again, it misses it sometime. And of course, sometimes it writes it as if you can tell that AI written at you is a completely phrase-to-phrase sentence, and it's exactly the same thing. But your job as a creator is basically to make it much more meaningful in nature. What is a meaningful measure mean? In healthcare, I want to make 100% precise decision. That is my diagnosis. Well, that only happens only with the intervention of human being. Because we have seen these cases, 95% it does it, but 5% is a huge deal in healthcare. So, and again, now we are incorporating another big terms basically for the research. Faculty wants to publish research all the time, right? But now it becomes conflict with the AI, and any tool you use, some of the material feels like it's already there, and we are rewriting the same paper again one more time. So this is where we believe AI is absolutely essential. We have to incorporate. We can't dismiss, but also means we got some things we cannot be taught: the compassion, the judgment call, ethical decision, and the clinical practice, and meaningful relation to the patient. will remain the same, irrespective of whether you use the AI or not use the AI. It's better to use it and let them know. So that helps you in that routine things. It's fantastic, best. I mean, just think about a faculty grading 45 students' paper essay in public health class, which is like 25 pages long. Your mind gets tired. And they were talking about after 3, 4, 5 papers, you're less efficient by default. Whether you like it or not, that's how it's going to happen. 45th paper, some of the grammatical error is acceptable. Oh man, I want to finish it. That will not happen in the AI. But what you can do, you can save that energy and incorporate, and when you read it, get the picture from the AI and make it better. So this is where we stand. We are not against it, but certainly it's a change. This is what I am saying about microevolution. AI is something new. Well, at least 2, 3 years we have been extensively using it. It's going to reach a stage where we need to understand even better for us to make ourselves more valuable in that context.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Chandra. I would urge the students, especially those students who are juniors, who are moving on to be seniors and high school seniors, who are in the process of preparing their essays and in the process of getting their college applications in place. Please do not, earlier on, many people would dwell on an essay, think through it and revise it and revisit it for over a period of time. Please don't think that, today you can put the essay prompt on ChatGPT and get it in 30 seconds. As Dr. Chandra mentioned, everyone is going to get scanned. So on that note, Ms. Horadam, do you have anything? Or I think you did. Yeah.
I have so much to say, and I'm like trying to be diplomatic. I'm like really anti-AI in the ways that most of my students are going to engage with it, right? Like there are uses for AI, like let's say specifically in cancer screening or within like parsing pieces of data that like I am not against the march of progress. What I do not think is progress is students outsourcing their thinking, outsourcing skills. And then more in the professional sphere that really freaks me out is outsourcing liability and responsibility, right? Like I think that when I go to a doctor, for example, like this is a person who has gone through every step to become a doctor, and that is someone who I am going to trust and have a conversation with. Same thing if you're going to like a therapist or any specialist, right? These are people who can see nuance and give you actual answers that are not just sycophantic sort of like AI psychosis stuff. So like to kind of backpedal from the soapbox that I could very much go on and won't. In my practice, we have an agreement with our students that they cannot use AI for drafting or any major piece of the process. Now, I know there are things that are just built in to certain like word processing apps, like a grammar underline, but like I'm going to encourage students to look at that because it's not always right. That 10% of the time it may be wrong. And students should learn how to gain all these skills that the three of us have been talking about this entire time: critical thinking, problem solving, an eye for detail, the ability to think and express yourself. Outsourcing that to, in my opinion, like this may sound extreme, but it's like, what does it mean to be a person and to be a human who's successful in this world? Like, I don't want a program streamlining me into being everyone else. And my students shouldn't feel that way either. Like this process, when done well, the college application process, a student should feel proud of the work they're doing and what they've learned in the process and the skills they've gained. If you outsource everything to AI, it's going to be easier, but it's not a service to the student in the short term or the long term, in my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Horadam. I know this AI topic, we can perhaps spend a couple of hours on it, but I have one more question before we move on to the student Q&A, because we want them to ask questions directly to you. And the question is regarding the financial literacy for students. We all know career success isn't only about earning income, it's all about managing resources wisely. So in terms of discussing the financial habits that can benefit students for a long time, how can students balance educational goals with minimizing unnecessary debt? Because today college education is it's very crazy. So having said that, how can they balance their educational goals? At the same time, avoiding unnecessary debt? open to you, anyone. Yeah.
But I'm sure most of you are aware of, right? So this is again the environmental and our bias to some extent. So you want the top colleges happens to be in most cases private institutions by default, right? So if you just go by to your state, I mean, state schools are almost negligible tuition fee if you think about it. But particularly, I live in both states, Florida and San Francisco. Florida is one of the basically entire tuition fee is probably in the top school in Florida, University of Florida, for example. I mean, this is a top 5 public research institution in the country. And that basically costs you about $24,000 per year. It's $6,000 $24,000 per 4 years, $6,000 per year. That also they have a special scholarship. I forgot the name of the scholarship. If you just get 3.0 GPA or get some kind of a 3.2 GPA in high school, which most students by default get it is free 100%. They get the scholarship. And if you happen to take in the PSAT, and of course, not everybody passed the PSAT with that. If you get a rank and the top PSAT
National merit. Yeah.
That is not only it's free for the college, now it is boarding and lodging is also free. So it's something which is very unique, and also they'll give you $10,000 back. So you make money while you're going to the college. So please target your state school. State schools are fantastic, but people overlook the state school. University of North Carolina, University of Berkeley, California. Again, if you're in California, sorry about that because the competition is too high. But if you're in any other state other than California, your state schools are the best source. Before you look into the private school, you can look into private school if you have money, by all means. But if you want to combine money and try to do this, each and every state has medical school, dental school associated with a public institution. I mean, probably even in the University of Florida, if you want to go to medical school, it will cost you like $120K for the entire 4 years. Same thing would cost you like $500,000 elsewhere. So that's as simple as that. Dental school will cost you $600K for 4 years. And the same thing in California, University of Southern California, it costs you like $800K. But that would state school be $120, $130K. It's a huge difference in the price. Again, now for that to happen, you have to set mentally what do you want, basically. But we are not looking at the quality, we're looking at the name and the brand and everything. That will not go well with this state school, some of the state school, not all of them. So there's absolutely, I disagree when people say, oh, everything is expensive. Then the second part, all these private schools, the sticker price is different than what you pay in the tuition. Yeah. Sticker price says at Harvard $71,000 per year, but actually nobody pays $71K. Same thing in St. Louis University, for example, in Missouri. The sticker price is 58. Only 3% of the students pay sticker price. Half of the students will only pay 21, 23, 24. So there is a huge difference in how this marketing advertised. Look into all those. And then if you're a top student, if you get into private school, more than likely, the tuition reduction is way high. So, mix and match. Use this state school system and use some of those schools. Example, I'm sure some of you know you're if you're applying to colleges. If you apply to school in Oklahoma and those places, they'll be happy to take you with zero money down, basically. And it's free for you, 4 years. So think about that.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Ms. Davis, your thoughts?
I would say that we have been talking about prestige and fit. Fit is also financial fit, right? So I would say, right from when you start building your college list, it's a family decision. You got to figure what kind of colleges that my family can afford, right? Can send me to, or if I'm capable of getting a scholarship because of the various things, whether it's national merit or a merit scholarship because you're part of a certain state, things like that. Will I be eligible? All this you need to understand when you start building that list of colleges and eventually keep changing and modifying that list. Eventually, when you come to that decision crossroads, you have all these colleges that has rolled out the red carpet telling that we would love to take you, right? So there is this one college where it's free for you. All right, this is for undergrad. Say, for example, it's not a direct med, but it's like an undergrad pre-med, whereas which is no cost to you or almost negligible. Whereas the other one is 300 or 400,000 because it's prestigious, right? Then you got to figure. Even I would say basic economics would tell you, well, I could probably put that, even if you're a pretty rich person, I don't know, right? You could say that, okay, I would like to keep that money, if that is what it is, and then figure that for my, because you still have to continue, because this is a long game. Definitely, med school is a very long game. So you want to keep that, squirrel away that money and see what you can do. If you are capable of getting getting into a solid program while in undergrad, and if you can keep that work ethic, I think that that money would be best spent when you go into med school. So that's what I would still say.
Thank you,
If
Ms.
you're the
Davis.
kind, yeah, I totally agree. Like if you're the kind of student who has a shot, right, at some kind of prestigious Ivy level school, there are incredible universities like in this country that will bribe you to go to them instead. Like there are colleges that I think of as like they will bribe kids away from the Ivy Leagues because like they want rock stars on their campus and they have that, like scholarship set aside to get kids in. Or Dr. Chandra mentioned, Oklahoma. I'm from Texas. Like there are states that are maybe not like super sexy to students who want to, like a lot of students want to go to the coasts. But there's like entire states where they're just trying to get like young people to go there and stay. I live in New Mexico and like they have very cheap med school here because they want people to stay and serve the community here. So like one of the big mistakes I see with families on the financial side of things is not having enough different types of schools on the list, and also realizing that like a lot of success for students in the job market is being a rock star while in college. So if it's a university where you got into the honors college, maybe with scholarship, like a specialty program for awesome kids, that student's going to have not only like the scholarships, but like a cheaper, they're going to have more access to the better like resources that school has to offer. Or like a small liberal arts college is great for students who want to go pre-med or pre-health because they're going to have access to amazing stuff. And a lot of those schools, as Dr. Chandra said, the sticker price is not reflective of what most students are going to be asked to pay there. So like keeping in mind that when you have your budget, have a wide variety of colleges on the list and see which ones offer you what. And it can make a big difference, especially if you're playing the long game with masters or doctorate degrees or whatever.
Thank you, Ms. Horadam. Those are all great pieces of advice. Students, please take note of it. Now, I want to open the floor to our students. We have quite a few audience Q&A sessions, so please go ahead. Yeah.
Is Kushi is going to ask a question? Kushi, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Kushi, please go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So my name is Kushi. I will be a rising senior for the 2026 to 2027 school year. So obviously I have some questions about the college application process, and I'm planning to go into the pre-med route. So I have some questions about that too. So my first one is, if my goal is to become the strongest possible medical school applicant, what should I focus on each year of college in my undergrad?
So the
Dr.
first
Chandra.
year, just going to jump into on that particular part. The first year, I always say it's the GPA is the critical part, because remember I don't know whether you've looked, and probably even not. AMC, that's the American Association of Medical Corporation, the medical colleges. So they basically put the GPA in the row, and they put this science GPA, cumulative GPA, non-science GPA, and they have a second row called postdoctoral GPA. Third row is a master GPA. So that first line dictates, because there's so many applications come in. They look at, for medical school, I'm looking at the 4 years after your undergrad, right? So they look at that. So that dictates whether you go to the next phase or not. Sometimes they do it by the AI, just eliminates. If they need a particular GPA 3.5 is cut off, everyone else is out of that window. So GPA becomes an issue irrespective of whichever medical school you go into, because of the number of applications come in, number of seats available in the US, by simple definition. Okay. Second year is onwards, where you need to concentrate on the different. Now you have to define yourself. So which medical school are you interested in, MD or DO? If you're MD, then immediate thing is to look at the research, because all the MD school, most of them are research based in MD school. Most of them are. So that basically means they're looking for somebody who has had an experience in research, along with other things by default required. GPA, MCAT, and you're shadowing all those things by default. That's the next component. Then you have the voluntary. So you start from the second year and third year, then you have to make a decision when to take the MCAT. Most people, they worry basically by the time they come to 3 years, they realize, oh, GPA is not good, so I can't take the MCAT now. Let's just spend it. They take in fourth year. That means they'll miss the entire year next year. They cannot, because you have to apply for the medical school 14 months before you even start the medical school. So you miss that cycle. Then you'll go to the next cycle. Then they take an MCAT. They miss that MCAT. Again, this is what the delays that causes over the medical school and dental school and PA program. All of them are very similar. When I say medical school, I'm talking about most healthcare programs. So again, so another thing which I must tell you, medical school is fascinating, exciting, but there are other healthcare programs that are equally exciting and better than medical school and brings you more money within a short period of time if you're looking for money only with the satisfaction, like a physician assistant program, CRNA, Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetic. Then we have the nurse practitioner. You have to go through the nursing program. And these are the programs, they're all 27 months program after the undergrad compared to 10 years of medical school. So there is a huge difference, but they are equally or more competitive than a medical school. I have PA program in my institution. I only take 44 students. We get thousands of applications. Thousands. It's very hard even to pick that 44. So they have a slightly different expectation. What is different expectation? They want a critical care experience. That means while you are undergrad, you got to work in the critical care nursing facility for at least a year or two. See, those are the things you should know well in advance while you are an undergrad if you want to qualify and get that experience. Okay, thank you. I'm going to stop here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Roshni, do you have a question?
Hi. So one of my questions, like I'm right now an incoming sophomore at Rice University. I'm also studying pre-med. I just had one question in terms of what I was thinking like prior to this entire application process, because I know a lot of people are probably thinking like, what's the difference between a BSMD program versus going through the traditional path? So if you'd want to like expand on that a bit more.
Thanks, Roshini. So it's a big difference. The BSMD is, again, it used to be a going back 2014, probably like 54 institutions used to have the BSMD. BSMD, by definition, when you graduate and admit to the medical school with a guaranteed admission from high school, you apply to BSMD. There's 4 years of medical school and 4 years of undergrad by 8-year program. In some cases, 7 years, 3+4, or some cases 2+4. That's one of the institutions in Missouri. Now, what happened? They found out that people, when they come in, that the intention, because as I remember, Mel used the word teenagers. When teenagers come into this game, they don't know what they want, most cases. So they just started skipping when they after the university institution and give them that admission to this 8-year program. They changed their mind in the middle of the undergrad program. They started losing the student, which they were expected to take them directly into the medical school. So from 52, right now, approximately 24 institutions only take the BSMD. BSMD has its own advantage and also has its disadvantage. First of all, only Ivy League which takes it's Brown, and no other top schools take it. Most of them are like top 40, top 50. I mean, St. Louis University is the top 30, 40, that's the next one. Most of them are not ranked high in the medical school when they take it, basically. And now the problem is now we're kind of locked up. When you go through this program, if you are doing quite well and getting because again, the way it works is some of them have a varied number of MCAT score and you still have to maintain. For example, USF South Florida, they have the BSMD. They take it, but they said minimum score required is 516 in MCAT, which is almost very, very difficult to get 516. 516 is somewhere close to 90th percentile in the exam. So that means if you go through the USM and then you take the MCAT after 2 years, if you don't score, you're done. They're not responsible for you. So, but the additional advantage, some universities will have a very low score, like a 502, 503, you can easily get in. You maintain a GPA, a particular GPA of 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, depends on the institution. Each institution is very specific. Brown, for example, is another interesting one. If only they take 30 to 40 students, once you enter, then there is no MCAT requirement that you walk through for 8 years, basically. But getting in, of course, being the Ivy League and the Brown and so on and so forth, it makes it harder. So these are the variations. So that, I mean, again, so if you have to decide. Most students don't know whether you want to be a doctor at that point. right? Because you're just acting because of the environment around you, it may not be good because you just change your mind that affect the institution. That's why all the top institutions, University of Chicago, Northwestern, Boston, everybody dropped 2 years ago. They said, no, we are not giving this seat to the anymore. High school kid going from there, no idea what's happening there, which is a great. That's also they realize that something. Medical school, dental schools, and healthcare programs are always very big on maintaining the diversity. What happened in this program, they only started getting application from Asians, particularly Indians, because they're the only one that commit 8 years of financial support for the next student coming in. It became a nightmare for them, so they dropped it because it's not working. So that's why probably even the schools we have, they're thinking about it. Maybe next 2-3 years, they will also drop it probably. So thank you.
Okay. I'll post a
Sorry, I think
question.
Aruna, Ms. Davis actually has something wants to add.
I just would like to, because Brown was mentioned a few times, I just want to piggyback on that and just add a few things if it's okay.
Sure.
My son recently graduated out of Brown. Interestingly, both his roommates are direct admit to the BSMD program there. What I wanted to share is, as Mr. Dr. Chandra had pointed out, this kid, one of his roommates, by the time he came into the third year of the program, he almost reached this point of, I don't think I'm going to be this doctor that I wanted to be, you know. So he actually decided to take this break here, and then said that let me regroup my thoughts and see whether, you know, I wanted to. Of course, any college would allow, and Brown did allow for that possibility of taking a break, and then, you know, come back and such, and then for him to come back and only decide that he's actually not going to pursue, you know, his BSMD pathway. That's one of the classmates. He went on to finishing his economics degree. My son, by the way, he's not one of those. He went in for economics, and interestingly, he decided to pivot and move into healthcare because he was so fascinated by this neuroscience lecture and the professor who took this class. So he's moved into healthcare. That's a different story. But the second one, as to because there were questions about what to do and things like this, in terms of this kid was really structured. So first year, like how Dr. Chandra was saying, keep an eye on the ball, keep my GPA. I've been told, don't overstretch yourself. So every year he was very clear that the GPA is the most important thing. Although he didn't need to take that MCAT, he was a direct admit, he still wanted to make sure that his GPA was there. But more importantly, he created those relationships. He was trying to make those, you know, whatever that was possible through the Browns ecosystem or outside in the Boston and Rhode Island areas, wherever he could. So much so is he had this phenomenal internships that he was able to get, and then he was also recommended for very many international pursuits that he could tag along with these professors. So those are some possibilities. So even if you didn't even get into the BSMD program, but you're only in the undergrad pre-med program, what you can do is, and I see that among several of my students themselves, keep a solid GPA and you know, work with a professor who you think, you know, is phenomenal, you know, you really like, without any expectations. But you never know, some opportunities might come your way that way. All right, so that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. I'll try to combine two questions in one from Aditya P and one from Deepak Venkat. They are on grounds of dual credit courses and AP courses rigor. So one question was, what impacts can taking dual credit courses and obtaining an associate's degree have on a path to medical school? And the other one, would colleges prefer high GPA like a 4.0 with very easy classes and no AP classes, and or would prefer a lower GPA 3.6 to 3.8 GPA with majority of AP classes? I know I've heard about academic rigor in your course selection, but I'll let my panelists speak for it. Yeah.
I will just add a third option for the second part of the question. Colleges like high rigor and perfect GPA, you know, ideally. That's where they start, right? So if you can bring me solid rigor and your best GPA, whatever you could. If it's a 4.4 unweighted, fantastic. But from there, if you're not able to, they will see. So if you are a chemistry major and you are constantly be in your regular chemistry or honors chemistry or AP Chem, they are going to wonder what's going on here. right? So or even a pre-med path, your bio and chemistry is what. Or if you are a business student, they're going to look at your maths course to begin with. Have you done by the final year at least AP calculus, either AB or BC, things like that. So they will start looking at, definitely they will look at your course rigor. They would like to, if your school has offered, say for example, where I am in Illinois, there is an Illinois Math and Science Academy, IMSA. They do not offer any AP courses at all. However, every college in this country know the rigor of coursework at a school like IMSA, basically. All right. So then they don't expect a student to take an AP course at all. So it all really depends on your school too, and within that ecosystem and the courses that are provided by their school. Because what we get as an admissions officer when I read is something called a school profile. Based on the school profile, I read your document, your application, right? And you are always weighed against the context of the students who are applying from your own school and district to begin with, not from the students who are outside in the world. So your competition is within your own school to begin with. So if you rise to the top, you will rise to the top in the pile too, is my advice.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Ms. Horadam, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. Like, rigor cannot be ignored. I'll have families come to me, a lot of students interested in business, and they're like, I want to apply to top business schools. And it's like, okay, well, you have to have calculus, but it doesn't help you to have an F in calculus. If you could get like a C, you're not getting into maybe the top schools, but you have a good shot at some really high ranked schools because calculus is, like ABBC calculus is very hard for most high school students. But colleges will look at that school profile and know generally if your student is challenging themselves. But what I want to answer is the piece about dual credit. So I spent most of my career in Texas. Dual credit, very, very popular at a lot of these really big high schools in like the Dallas, Houston, Austin area. My issue with a lot of the dual credit bombardment is one, the rigor is not the same as AP, especially when there's the AP test that can be used to see the what the understanding that the student actually has in that coursework. Also, a lot of times I find that dual credit classes and a lot of these little electives can move away from core courses. And a lot of colleges want to see that students have competency in core courses. So meaning calculus, generally more favorable than business, math, dual credit, like little weird course. Better to have AP Bio, AP Chem than some like, dual credit oceanography type class. So like I always recommend students take the hardest rigor that they can handle that is offered by their high school. The push towards associates, I think, is totally misguided for students that want really selective colleges. The selective colleges, unless that's all that your high school offers is dual credit, I don't think it's going to help that much. For students who maybe, let's say, come out of high school with a CNA or something, like an actual degree in nursing, like that can be kind of compelling for my pre-nursing students and my pre-health students. But just to have an AA, I do not think is as good as having, let's say, like an AP certificate or an IB diploma or something that really shows more competency in core coursework. If you want to do the dual credit route just to get through like a local state school as cheaply and quickly as possible, yes, like that will get you through quicker if you come in with an associate's. But for a lot of the students that we're talking about here, I don't think that's usually the goal, right? It's to look at more selective colleges. And the associates, I think, is not the right pathway for like 99% of students.
Thank you. I agree with Aruna and Mel. I think it's very important to understand why students take it. If you're taking for the right reason, this dual credit, it works. Again, if you are on a medical, dental, and PA track, we always recommend not to transfer the class, but rigor is important. I mean, you took an AP class, which rigor is high. You're going to learn something, but don't take it, well, I'm going to just transfer to my college so I can graduate early. That should not be the intention, right? Because we recommend against it. If you're the minute you say pre-med, nothing is transferable. As we go by that concept, unless you show me that 5 we got on the AP class, then make a case. But still, you're losing much because the level of teaching is so different in the AP class in high school. But I've seen, although when my son went to this in Miami, I was impressed. That's one of the high school, which is, I think it's got 5,000 students over there. Each class is like 1,200. And they're the one highest number of AP classes they offer, like 42 AP classes per year. No one else offers that, right? So that he took those classes. I was impressed because now I see his progress in the college and what he did. They have really done a great job. Because that's the first time I saw this. Okay, this guy could have skipped this and not take this class, but rarely happens. So intention is very important. You take the class to learn the material, fundamentally sound, take it. Don't take it just because I'm going to just graduate in 2 years. That's not the right way of doing it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Do we have a panelist with questions?
We have one student panelist, Ajay Arish. You want to ask? Ajay, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes. So I'm becoming a junior this year, and I want to aim to be in the chemistry field. So what would you consider to be the most important aspect of getting to a good college in order to major in the chemical field?
Miss Mel, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to study chemistry, take the hardest chemistry classes that your school offers, get good grades in them, see if you can explore it, outside of school if possible, right? Like sometimes it's difficult with chemistry because not everyone wants teenagers playing around with things that can go boom or be destructive. But, if there's a teacher at your school who was a big mentor to you, is it like a chemistry teacher? See if you can help them out or talk to them more, pick their brain. Getting a good rec letter cannot be understated for a lot of colleges. Explore your options of what you can do with chemistry because it's a broad field. But yeah, just take the hard classes, get good grades. Sometimes it's that simple.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Do we have any other questions?
Panelist I see one more raised hand. Pratibha, you want to ask?
Hi, I'm Sagata.
Oh.
I'm interested in business major and being an entrepreneur. What suggestions do you have?
I mean, I can answer this one too. I work with a lot of business majors. Here's the thing with business. So everything's a business. You can get into business in a lot of ways. Entrepreneurship, there are some universities that have entrepreneurship majors. I think entrepreneurship is really just owning a business and being creative. I don't think you necessarily need a degree in entrepreneurship or even business to be a successful business owner or entrepreneur. I'm a business owner, I wasn't a business major. So I think definitely look at the programs that was different. Basically, most colleges now are going to try to have some kind of business major. It's very popular right now. Be aware that going in as a business major can make getting into a specific college more difficult because quite often they can be impacted. They're just very popular, right? If I ask, all my boy students, what majors are you looking at? It's business, pre-med, computer science, maybe engineering too. And so knowing that, and this is kind of going back to what we talked about with pre-health, but if there's other interests that you have that lead you towards entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship could be in any field, right? Maybe consider a major plus, like having 2 majors, a major and a minor. Some of my students will go in with a major in econ, a minor in entrepreneurship, or you could be that theater major with a minor in business. Just keep that open mind because networking and opportunities are kind of the biggest deal for entrepreneurs. It's being aggressive, right? And going for what you want. And it's not always necessarily going to be exactly the schoolwork that's as important for entrepreneurship like it would be for pre-health where you have to have specific competencies. It's building the skills, a lot of those soft skills, those interpersonal social skills, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, leadership that make a really successful entrepreneur.
Thank you, Mr.
I can quickly add to that. not another plugin for Brown, but my son did exactly what Mel talked about, an econ major with a certificate in entrepreneurship, because Brown offers such a possibility. And very many schools, they also, provide. And yes, business, even for us, we've seen over the last few years, is the most sought after. Boys, girls, doesn't matter. My daughter, she went to University of Chicago. She's there as a sophomore. She went in as a CS major. Absolutely, I'm not looking at anything else, only to decide at the end of the first year and taking some of the courses, econ courses from U Chicago. She's like, I'm doing econ, business, and entrepreneurship. So you never know when these things will change. But to your specific question, what you need to do at a high school level, start thinking like an entrepreneur. If there is a problem in your house, in your community, see if you can solve those. That is entrepreneurial thinking. So I would like, so during COVID times, actually, I think there was this, mushroom of entrepreneurs who just like came overnight because they all wanted to solve problems, right? So if you can start thinking like that, I think that's a good first step. But again, as they say, your network is your net worth. In entrepreneurship business, you need to start networking. Every person will lead to the next person. So if you can, have that, build that communication skills in all ways that is possible, that's another lead into your business. And my personal example, I actually started as an engineer, only to quit engineering altogether. 20 years ago, I decided I will start my own business. And that's what is Learn to Right Now is all about. So as long as you can learn to pivot and decide that, and at any point in your life, you can start your own business, right? So that is becoming, becoming that entrepreneur, and then doing the business. And you can come from you can be a doctor, you can be an engineer, you can be a homemaker, whatever it is. The moment you decide I'm going to start a business, you're a business owner. That's it. It's as simple as that. But you need to build those skills.
Thank you all. Yeah. We have Soumya. Soumya, do you still have a question?
Yes. This is a great discussion. So I wanted to ask, there is in the school, my son is going to ninth grade now, but they offer regular courses, then there is advanced courses, then there is dual credit, then there is AP. I understood from the conversation that it is better to take AP if the child has the capacity than the dual credit. But I wanted to see, is dual credit better than the advanced and regular classes, or how does it stand?
Depends on your kid's school. Because advanced doesn't really mean much. Like it's going to be in the school profile, like Aruna was saying. Like their school's profile is going to say what advanced means. So sometimes advanced is used in place of honors, which it sounds like it might be. I think it just depends on the school. Because sometimes dual credit is stronger than advanced. Sometimes if the high school is really strong, maybe not. Like the advanced course might be harder, and that would be relayed through the counselor letter, the school report form, the school profile, that's better.
Okay. And the advanced
one quick thing, sorry. I could also add, the best person that you should actually be asking this question is your student's counselor. They will be able to tell you how they weight the courses for their specific school and district. And so you will have a better, an informed decision that you can make about how to approach that particular course, is what I would say.
100%.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have a question about what is, I think, Mr. Chandra, you can help with this. One question is how easy is it to get into a DO versus MD? And the other one is, what is the minimum GPA where you stand a chance to get into a medical school?
Well, the one-line answer is yes. DO is a lot easier to get in compared to MD. So particularly, again, so they're very ethnical disparity is very high. I mean, not disparity high, but they want to maintain that well. So they look at the Caucasian and Asian population, Hispanic population, African population differently by default. So that means if you are an Asian, then this is what you need. At least for a MCAT, you need at least, GPA needs to be at least always 3.7 or 3.8 or higher in undergrad, particularly science GPA. It's just not the regular GPA. Science GPA has to be 3.7, 3.8, so somewhere, or at least 512 on MCAT to have an interview in MD school. Well, the same thing, if you have a 502, 503, then more than likely you get into one of the DO schools. So there's a huge difference with MD and DO schools. So what was the second question, Tulsi? I forgot.
Yeah, I think that was you answered pretty much both of them regarding the MD and DO and as well as the GPA requirements, actually. Yeah.
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 GPA is very important. Again, that's what it says. GPA tells you the consistency. That's how at least the medical dental school make the decision. I don't know if it's important for everybody. I believe it is. That gives you a consistency. MCAT or DAT or SAT and all those ACT, one-time thing. So it can happen. But people have figured out some people are absolutely brilliant at taking those standardized tests. Not everybody is. Some people have also seen absolutely brilliant, but they're terrible taking those tests too. So it's both ways it works. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Do we have anyone else from the audience who wants to ask questions? Okay. This question, perhaps both Ms. Horadam and Ms. Davis can talk about regarding passion projects. I think we had one question about passion projects. What are the ways to create or get ideas for good and unique created passion projects? For some who do not know what is a passion project for high school, college applicants, can you please elaborate?
Sure, I can go after Ms. Mel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, passion is one of those terms that's been like used so much in this process that it's like almost meaningless. But you can kind of define passion as commitment plus leadership in some ways. Like if a student is very involved in something, naturally they're going to continue doing that and extend it into other things. Like hopefully, right? That if a student is interested in medicine, they'll search for opportunities in that. If they're interested in business, they'll search for entrepreneurship or other opportunities in that. I think 9th and 10th grade are a really good time for students to explore their interests and get involved. Most high schools, unless you're in a really small, like rural high school, there's going to be like a lot of different clubs with different opportunities. And I find like that passion piece is going to come in, maybe not necessarily always where parents expect. Like if, for example, a student is just like watches anime all day and they want to like start an anime club at their school and they use it to build community and they started animating or like whatever, right? Like if they're really involved and they're putting a lot of time into that, that's going to oftentimes be more impressive to a university than if someone's just a member of like HOSA or something. Like they're just in the, NHS and they don't do anything with it. So it's really about like searching for opportunities and responsibilities within that activity. Again, it can be babysitting. It can just be your job. Like I have students who have to work and they like working and they get employee of the month and become a key holder and like they search for opportunities there. Or it can be in your religious community or whatever. Like the passion is going to come from those intrinsic values that the student has and things that they want to do. Sometimes I have parents that say, like all my son does is play video games, and I'm like, okay, well, like does he mod a Discord server for that video game? Does he like help troubleshoot? Did he build his own computer? Like, does he talk with his friends through that? Like, there's always ways to explore how students get involved. And then they can potentially work with someone like us. That's part of what I do is helping students figure out other ways to get involved from their interests. Because sometimes, it can be overwhelming to know what the opportunities are for students. So that's like what people like me do is help with that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Horadam. Ms. Davis?
Yeah, I'd like to have the meme that say what she said kind of thing, but I will also add to that what Mel said. One of the thing is passion project, as the name kind of spells it out. It is not a school assignment. It's not like a prescriptive task. None of those, right? Sometimes one would even argue it's not like a job or a volunteer position, although that could be passionately done because those are some of the things that you're doing. But this is something that you're like trying to conceive because you are like, wanting to find those answers. Think of it that way. It's something that you want to explore way beyond what, that is being presented to you because you cannot go to sleep. You wake up, that's the first thought in your head. Any of these could become a passion project, right? So we wanted you to identify a project. We try to give these specific mnemonics, so to speak. I could even tell you if you think, so tonight, if you go to bed or like tomorrow you want to start, okay, let me start thinking. So think of this mnemonic SAGE, SAGE, okay? standing for S. Okay, what is S? It's like, specific. Is there a specific area that I wanted to focus this on? Just, okay, that could be. So you're trying to kind of hone in on a certain something that you can work on. Forget about whether it's going to take me into med school, business school, or anything. I am so passionate. This is the point of specificity, right? And then can I be? A is for action, alive, those kind of adjectives right there. And does it really make me come alive? Right? It's not a passive project. It's an alive, active project. So you're trying to really give energy into it, really seek information, really connect with people, all kinds of things. Then G is for growth. Am I actually growing through this project? Is it making me grow? Whether, not necessarily physically, that's not what we're saying, but it can grow, make me grow mentally in the way that I understand the subject, whatever that is. So let's look for the G, the growth. And the last one, what we call is the earned insight, right? From doing this passion project, what are the insights that I'm able to get, right? And that is truly earned. It's because of the experiences that I've gotten out of this project. That's what it is. So if you check mark all these, and if there is even as small as you're looking at that anthill that is forming in your backyard, that is okay. You're so excited about that. There are certain things that you're learning about colonization, whatever it is. But it is, if you actually checkbox all of these, you're still done a passion project, and you could write a solid essay about that in very many parts of your application. And even if it doesn't take you to your, like I said, for the destination, which is your pre-med or business school, you would have learned something out of it because you were passionate about the topic. That's all. It's as simple as that.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. And since we're talking still about college application, I'll take one last question and I'll combine two questions, one from Kushi and one from Sanvi. The question is, what's the biggest mistake students make while writing the Common App essay? And the follow-up other question is, what topics should we avoid on college essays and what topics should we choose?
Again, I can take a break and go after Mel on this.
Sure.
Happy to do it. Yeah, when I first started in this field over 10 years ago, I was like, I had this like whole list in my head of like cliches to avoid in the college essay process. And then I find myself over the years like being more and more open to students breaking those cliches. I think it's like one time I heard someone say that if another student could write the same essay as you, they will. And that is true. So being able to figure out what is unique about you, even if the experience you have is not necessarily that unique with even within your high school, the essay has to be about you and it needs to be uniquely you. So, a lot of people who've worked in admissions, which it seems like we all have, it's like in my head, I know like every sports injury essay almost that's ever been written, or like every big game, or like the time you tried out for the business club and didn't get in, then you worked harder, and then you got in, you learned about persistence. These are okay things to write about as long as you are bringing something unique to that, because every student has experienced something where they had to be persistent or they've had a setback. Those are great starting points, but making sure that the essay is uniquely you. And like another big mistake I see is that students don't write the essay about themselves, right? Like if I read an essay and it starts out, like when I was in admissions, you read these essays so quickly, like you have 6 minutes to read a whole application. So if I start the essay and it's like, Grandma was my best friend, I'm like, oh, okay, Grandma's gonna die in this essay. I can scroll to the bottom. I see, oh, and I learned about living each day like it was, my last. And it's like, and nowhere in there is there anything about the students, about Grandma who's not going to the college, right? Like even if she was alive, she's not going. So making sure that the essay is about you. If Grandma taught you something and then you went and did something with that, and we can learn something about you from that essay, that's fine. If the sports injury taught you that you didn't want to be an athlete and you did something unique with that, that could be interesting. But something that is uniquely you is more important, in my opinion, than something that feels like a generic college essay that's like anyone could write, because there's a lot of these essays out there, right? Every student's writing one, so you want to stand out.
Thank you, Ms. Horadam. Ms. Davis?
Yes. Thank you. Again, a very passionate topic of ours at this time of, especially when we are writing our personal statements, right? We almost, when we do our discovery call, we tell the parents and the students in the personal statement, we will almost tell you not to write about your extracurricular activities. Is that okay? And they are like, oh my God, that's all my child is. He's this, he's that. He's almost like an Olympian without the Olympic medal kind of a thing. Well, we have a place for that. There's activity lists. So we are not going to be talking about that in the personal statement. Okay. And the other thing is writing about their major, why they want that major, and all of that. Forget. No, because we have a why this college, why this major essay. Again, no. Again, writing about somebody else, like how Mel was talking about. I do not want to know about your grandfather, grandmother, anybody, because, and even in the mission trip, you talked about this person who's carrying or doing things. It's all great that you had those experiences, but I want to know about you. Why is it called a personal statement? Because it is the person behind that statement, and that person is you. And I want you to come onto my campus, and I want you to be the member of the community. I am looking for what you can bring to the community. That's all it is, right? And we also try to tell, community service. You don't have to, because again, there is a place for that, because there is a community service essay, if you didn't know, as part of the supplemental essays. We do not also want to say about family trips and vacations. Again, sometimes it comes as privilege, so to speak, sometimes, right? We also try to say mental health, although it is, it is a way you can present it in a certain way. Some colleges, which is the truth, unfortunately, they don't want to deal with it. They will give you all the help that is needed once they admit you. But at the point of admitting you, the moment they kind of start feeling, okay, we have to deal with some, between two students, if they are weighing, they will gladly take the person who has not presented to themselves their vulnerable self. Although we want you to talk about your vulnerable self, if it's too much overtly on your mental health situation, we try to tell you, try to be off of it. You don't again want to talk about your romantic life, although you found your perfect somebody, through high school. We are so happy for you, but we don't need to know about that, right? And anything to do with pre-high school, we don't want, because your statement is all about high school, right? And again, food, we love food. I'm really hungry already here, but we don't want to read about another food essay, right? If there are other opportunities, and if you're a food blogger, talk about that as a part of your passionate activity. Do a passion project about that, but we don't want a food essay. So these are some of the no-nos. Again, I'm happy to put together a cheat sheet and send it to the organization if they want to make it available as like what we consider. Again, having read tens of thousands of admission essays as admissions officer, we don't want yet another this kind of essay. So you can still talk about yourself without talking about any of these things, is what I'm going to say.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. I know, like we have had. I tried to skim through most of the questions, and most of them were overlapping. So we've answered most of the questions. I'm sure many have many more questions, but with due respect for the time already, some students have asked if you have any cheat sheet for all of you. We have more questions coming. We have already had a slide on all your contact details. Anyone not listening to the call, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us and we can pass on the questions to our panelists. Again, so we want to help and give you all possible information with the help of our panelists. So there's a screenshot on a Zoom if you need. There's a slide, so take a snapshot of it. Else, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll get you your details if possible. And before ending the call, before the vote of thanks, I want to ask one final thought from each of you. In a minute or less, what is your single most important piece of advice you want every student to remember as they pursue academic success, career growth, and personal fulfillment? Yeah, Dr. Chandra, do you have anything?
Sure. I always tell the students, it's not, sometimes it's okay not to know before you enter into the college what you want to be and where you want to go. So it doesn't matter what you do, aim to be the best in that field, right? This is something which is very, very important with the medical, dental, or something with the mechanical engineer, or whatever it is, social worker, marriage and family therapy. If you are good at it, people will find you. That's just as simple as that, in fact. So again, I keep telling them, it is for you to be successful, for anyone else to be successful, first of all, you got to like what you do. Then like should become love. Love should become passion. That's when you can make the difference and you can achieve whatever you feel you could. If you don't, again, it's okay to fall off. Sometimes you try many things. We use the word funnel in chemistry all the time. Funnel mouth is big. It is okay to sort out. If you fall down a couple of times, if you get up, it's okay to change the field. It's not a rocket scientist to know. You don't need to know everything at every point. But once you find something that you like and you think you know a lot of it, then think that you can make a difference, and you think that you enjoy enough to make and to like that field, you are going to be good by default. And again, don't chase the money. Money will chase you once you become good at it, basically. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Ms. Horadam?
I think it's important to know when to choose happiness and to be kind to yourself. This process can feel really mean, and sometimes the meanest person to my student is the student. And this process does not need to be like that. Like, you can really be nice to yourself, even in things like, again, like working with a lot of students in Texas, I've had students that are like, I want to do I want to do band. The only way I could do it is marching band because Texas is obsessed with football. I really want to play my instrument, but that means I can't take this one AP. If it's important to the student to do the instrument and play that, there is a part on the Common App called additional information where you can explain, I had to make this hard choice and I made it and I chose happiness. Like, be nice to yourself. Like, this process can be so stressful. And the students, like, I think it's very easy to make this meaner than it needs to be.
Thank you, Ms. Horadam. Ms. Davis?
I think by now the audience know I give kind of these mnemonics. So remember the 3 E's, okay? Always explore, be curious, try something new, like do anything that you can do, build a skill, volunteer, shadow, do all those. So explore, 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 always, right? Then engage, right? Engage with the community, of course, engage with your parents. My parents, when they call, they almost tell their kids are very monosyllabic or they don't even talk. They talk to their gadgets, but they don't talk. Mrs. Davis, you are asking us to have dinner table conversations. Nothing is happening here, right? So please talk to your parents. Please, if you have you have the gift of your grandparents staying with you either for the summer, or you can even call them, right? Talk to them. That's important. So engage, but engage with your books. As Mel was saying, that is like absolutely. You need input. Input is only coming through reading, right? Good literature, right? So read and write and debate, do all kinds of fun engagement. And then finally choose happiness. And that's E for enjoy. All this, take it in the stride that it is at the end of the day you should be happy doing this. What is the point if you're so stressed? And that stress will it is pretty, it is going to be reflective of the kinds of things that you're going to do. So always first schedule your sleep. Everything comes after that. So rest matters, and then start working your calendar outside of that. But enjoy every single step of this process. And I think before you know it, this will be done. But it's only a small blip in the long life that we are all going to live. So whatever actually, and again, to go back to what Mel and Dr. Chandra was saying, this process, when you do it perfectly, not outsource it to AI, but you actually do it, you will come out of the other end knowing a lot about you and feeling so proud. Absolutely. Right? So I want that possibility for each and every one of these students and whoever is going to be listening to this also later on. That's all I would say.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Love your mnemonics, the 5 C's, the SAGE, the 3 E's, and the Ikigai. So I'm sure we'll all take it back. And thank you all for your profound advice and information. I'm sure we all are going to benefit. I'll let Dr. Amar go for the vote of thanks.
Yeah.
No, I think Prema is going to do it.
Representative that. Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Thank you, Tulsi, for doing such an outstanding job moderating today's session. Your thoughtful questions, engaging facilitation, and seamless coordination made the session both informative and interactive. We truly appreciate your excellent moderation. And so, what a fantastic webinar today. I really thank all the three panelists, Dr. Sathees Chandra, Mel Horadam, Aruna Davis, for generously sharing your knowledge, experience, and valuable insights with our students and community. Your guidance will inspire and benefit many students as they pursue their academic and professional goals. Really, it was really a fantastic webinar. I know we crossed our time. It was 2 hours, like we already crossed our session. And yeah, I hope everyone found today's webinar insightful and inspiring. We trust that the knowledge and practical advice shared by our panelists will help our students make informed decisions as they pursue their academic, career, and personal goals. A special thank to Sharath for managing the Zoom platform and ensuring today's webinar ran smoothly behind the scenes. Your support is greatly appreciated. I would like to thank all our student panelists for their participation and our parents, mentors, educators, and community members for their continued encouragement and support. So on behalf of VPA, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who joined us today and helped make this webinar a success. Thank you once again for joining us, and we wish you success in your academic, professional, and personal journey. And we have noted all the questions were asked in the chat, and we'll try to send those questions to our panelists, and we'll get all the answers, and we'll try to email we will send your answers through email. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.